Well, good afternoon. We're trying this again. We never stop. I'm Rick Dancer. This is Get Real with Rick Dancer. Our sponsor is Any Lab Test Now, Eugene, Stephanie, and Adam. When I told them we could talk to some folks from Blue River to find out what's going on, because that's one of the hardest hit areas in our area, they were more than happy to sponsor the show. They're also giving all firefighters vitamin B12 shots for free. And if anybody in the Blue River area or affected by this evacuation and you lost your medical records and you need some medical testing, and they do over 8,000 tests, they'll work a deal with you and see what they can do for you. So let's get right to our story. This is Melanie, the unofficial mayor of Blue River, I'm told. And that's what they tell you? Yeah. Okay, that's what everybody was telling me that's who you are, so I'm going. So anybody in the audience, if you can hear us great, let us know. Just a couple of you. You'll see yeses coming on or no's. Kenny, you're also from Blue River, is that right?
Yes, I live on River Street.
So you are a firefighter as well?
Yeah.
So Vita Cafe is still up. Is the Vita Cafe still good?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So tell me, when you drove into Blue River, what do you see? Kind of describe it for me.
Pretty much at that point, it was just total chaos. I mean, it was just, you saw cars everywhere, but we had one of our locals, he had a bunch of Ford Mustang 2s that he always worked on and everything. All of those were burnt up. The library was gone. I just started seeing all the different properties on the left and the right of the road just decimated. Ashes. Fridges burnt all up. It was just chaos.
Is the post office and everything like that, is it just gone?
Yeah, everything is down to the foundations.
Really?
Everything, yeah.
So how long have you lived there?
I have personally been in the area for about 8 years.
What about the lodge just up the road? I can't remember who owns that. Is the lodge gone too? Do you know what I'm talking about, Melanie?
The resort,
yeah.
The River Mountain Resort. It is almost completely gone. I think there's 2 of the temporary food carts that they have outside that are the only thing that are left.
Wow. So Matt Bedell is on here, my dear friend who I love, and I know he's part of your town. He's saying love all 3 of you. So we've all got some love from Matt.
We love you too, Matt.
So Kenny, when you were there, can I ask you kind of a personal question?
Yeah.
So did it bring tears? I mean, did you kind of start to cry?
Oh yeah, many times. I kind of moved around in Blue River 3 or 4 times, and I walked around and saw all the places that I stayed at of dear friends of mine and everything. And yeah, it definitely got to me a lot.
So before I get too far and don't think about it again, Kenny, we want to thank you and all the other firefighters for all you're doing, because I'm on Camp Creek and I have not suffered anywhere near the damage that you folks have. But oh my God, just knowing that you guys are out there doing what you do, thank you so much for trying to help us, and you kept it from coming my way. And I really appreciate that.
I appreciate that.
Melanie.
Yes.
You're visibly, obviously quite upset.
Yeah.
What did you lose?
Hmm. 28 years worth of community.
So you mentioned community. It's not the stuff that you're concerned about.
No. I have insurance. The stuff will be replaced.
What is it what's the hardest thing that's going to be to replace?
The people that may or may not come back, Luckily, it doesn't sound like we've had very much life loss or any life loss, thankfully. It's going to be the people that may or may not be able to come back because they may or may not have been insured. That's the problem, is going to be the community that I may not be able to have around us. For the most part, we're a fairly strong community. And through this, we've all been pretty tight knit and close together. But that's what I'm missing the most, is just being able to be around each other and being at home. So,
Kenny, somebody's asking, is the high school still there?
Yes, they did manage to fight the fire off at the high school. I heard radio traffic that it was starting to take over the hill behind the high school, and I haven't been there yet. Somebody did say, and it could just be a rumor, that the elementary school might have gone up, but I'm not too sure about that. I didn't lay eyes on it. I do know that the main part of the school was safe.
I have a friend who works up at Carpenter Mountain, at the lookout up there, fire lookout, and he had to be airlifted out of there by helicopter because there were so many trees down, he couldn't get his truck out.
Yeah.
So
I had seen that the second day while being up there, and was wondering how he was doing.
Who, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's out. He's up at Sand Mountain right now. But I'm hoping to go out with him when he goes out to kind of see what's going on. So how many people live in Blue River?
What would be considered Blue River proper, I guess. The water district has, I think it's 150 or so resident connection kind of things. I think there's about that many, 150, maybe 200 people. Is what would be considered the population of the downtown-ish area from our side of the bridge across. So on our side of the bridge, probably maybe 75 if you count the houses with the people.
Okay. Now, the big headline this morning or last night or something was you guys a lot of you are staying at one of the hotels down by the university, and you were going to be evicted so that parents could come, and that got taken care of. Travel Lane County, I think, worked in some magic, and
yes, thankfully, yes,
yeah,
because a lot of the Blue River folks are there.
A lot of us are, yeah.
So that gives you a little. What do you do though? I mean, because this is what my wife and I were asking last night, and going, so what do you do at this point? Like, where do you go? I mean, you can rebuild, and I know you want to rebuild, but you can't. I mean, that doesn't happen like tomorrow. You're going to have to. Where are you getting? What do you do?
Well, that was the biggest. So that was the biggest thing when I got back yesterday, and we were all given those notices. That's the thing is, for people, where do we go? There's already a housing shortage in this area. There's already places. There's no places to stay. There's no places to go. And for most of us that are here, minus a handful of rooms who are from areas like Cedar Flats, Walterville, areas like that, who still can't necessarily go home, but they still have a home to go to. There's a lot of us, like my entire family, minus my sister whose home is on the east side of the fire, her home is still standing.
Right.
Once we can get back over there, we can probably go to her home, but we still can't. We can't get there. Her house is not big enough. There's 11 of us that are family that are going to have to figure out how to, But we are lucky. We are insured. We will figure it out. But for everybody else that's not, they have no other options. And so if the Red Cross kicks them out or doesn't have an option for them, or there's no other resources, they have nothing else.
And
so
the thing
that's huge.
I'm not. I hope you correct me if I'm wrong, because I mean I've been here a long time, but Cedar Flats is really kind of just like extended Springfield.
Right. Yes.
Blue River, I mean, and I mean this in a very complimentary way. You're your own people. You live out there for a reason. You don't want to be in town. You don't want to be found. You want to live your life the way you want to live it, and you're not going to be somebody who's going to come into the city and adjust.
No.
Is that fair?
That's fair.
Yeah, a lot of people are kind of pulling their hair out about all the craziness going around us in town and everything, for sure.
8 days stuck in the middle of Eugene, near the university, on a main road, with all the traffic and all the extra people, is pretty much putting most of our residents like at their wits' end. This is not normal. It's not okay. And for people that live in town, it's great. But this is not, with all the trauma that's already happened to us because of everything that's happened in the last 8 days, and then add all of this, everybody's having a really hard time.
Well, and I want to make the point, because I know people will jump on. Some people might want to jump on that. You're not ungrateful, and you're glad you have a place to stay. But the mental difficulty on top of losing everything, having no possessions, having no place to go, you're in a strange land where people are different than where you are.
That is the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so let's we've kind of rehashed what's going on. I want to really quickly remind people our show is sponsored by Any Lab Test Now Eugene, and they are offering free vitamin B12 shots to all firefighters working on these fires. They're also going to help people with their medical. If somebody lost all their records and they need to have medical lab tests done, they'll help with that as well. They sponsor this show so we can do this. So I want to make sure we get them in there. That's just how this stuff works. KEZI has a little commercial that pops up and says, "Hi, buy a car from, the Nissan dealership," or whatever the hell it is. I have to do that because I want to make sure my clients are represented. Now, here's the next thing. She also has a bunch of clothes that she would like to donate to you guys. Stephanie is the biggest hearted person. She's called me, I don't know how many times, to ask me, how are you and Kathy doing? Do you need anything? And I feel bad because I'm going, no, you know who needs something? The people in Blue River. And she understands that too. What can people do for you guys? If people are out there watching this and going, I want to help, what can they do?
Communities have been started that are specific to helping with like the rebuilding efforts that are going to happen through the McKenzie River CDC. They're not just specifically one GoFundMe or two GoFundMes that are just specific to like people. Will be used to go for the entire community. That I feel like those are going to be the best served to help the entire community, not that it doesn't need the help, but to be able to serve the greatest good, I think that those are going to be the better options if they're wanting to give money. Anytime when we do get ready to rebuild, we're going to need boots on the ground. We're going to need people to swing hammers, and everybody that can, we're going to need you. And we're going to need you to come back up when we do get stuff rebuilt and patronize our businesses and still come up and go to the reservoir and be there to help support us every step of the way. Because that's my biggest fear, is that we're going to rebuild it and nobody's going to come. So that's what we need. Yeah. A year from now, hopefully not 5 years from now, but a year from now, when we're able to stand strong and be back, that we have people. Yeah.
So I know there's an effort in town that is a Facebook page, and I need to get it because I should just be sharing that with people. But I know that October 3rd, there's a work party, and so people from town can come out. And if you guys, hopefully you'll be back in your places, but just going up and down the river, helping people pick things up, cutting down branches, cutting down wood stuff. So everybody in the audience, you should be aware of that you'll be hearing more about that. And that's a chance to go. Because here's the thing. You make a great point, Melanie and Kenny. It's really easy to feel bad right now. And that's nice that we have the ability to feel. But you know what? I say this to my audience all the time. I don't give a damn how you feel. It's what you do. If you don't take those feelings and do a community is an action word. We have to take action, and you guys need our help. So we can't just go, oh, I feel bad now, I'll go down and get my latte and go on with my life. We have to continue to do stuff to help this, because the McKenzie River Valley is our valley too. And it's your home, but it's something that I think it's the gem I think that was the hardest thing for us down in town too, is when we heard the McKenzie, you're going, no. My son drove through to go back to Montana, and he went through the night before the fire. And he called us and he says, Dad, I got to see it before it got destroyed. And he was so happy that he had gone that direction to be able to see the whole thing. So you guys need our help, and that's how we can show love and concern and care, is not just money, but really coming and helping you. And then, like you said, afterwards, let's build a new restaurant there. Let's build something really cool. Let's make Blue River, keep the history and the parts of it that are secret that only some of us know because we know people who live there. That's what Blue River's all about. It's a hideaway kind of. Aren't you guys kind of like a little hideaway?
We are. And my biggest, the thing that I've been saying since the beginning of this, and I guess it's because I've been doing my very best to try and stay as positive as I can be in literally the most negative situation that any of us have ever faced, is most people never get the opportunity. We have a very unique opportunity. You don't ever usually get to start from the ground up with people who have been there from the beginning, who've always had this idea or that idea or what ifs. And we now finally get to kind of look at the what ifs and all of the stuff that we've ever thought of to look at and go, well, maybe we can do those things and build a bigger, better, still maintain the history and still maintain the family appeal, because that's the one thing that I won't ever want to give up on, because that's the coolest part about Blue River, is it didn't matter whether you were a tourist or whether you were one of us, or everybody always felt welcome. And so I want to maintain that, but we could make so many wonderful things happen there that maybe somebody couldn't, that we haven't been able to do in the last 10 years or so. So
people are suggesting you have like a fundraiser, and Deborah, that's a great idea. Who said that? I think it's just going to take some time. They got to get past the pain and the devastation. And I mean, even my house wasn't ruined, but the thought, I just wanted to get home and see it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you're at, huh?
Yeah. That's kind of the biggest thing, I think, for most of us, is we know there's nothing left, but being able to see the nothing left, and it may seem completely ridiculous to a lot of people, but I need to see my ashes.
I was out there on a structure protection task force for about 4 days before I got back, and it was every day my chief was asking, do you want to go see Blue River? Do you want to go see Blue River? And I'm just thinking, not really, but I need the closure.
Right. And I think people, until they're in your spot, I was almost. And when I left my house and my wife and I looked at it and I watched it in the rearview mirror and I cried because I said, I hope I get to see you again. And people can judge that, but until you've done it, you can't. It's like a death. And so you have to see what happened. But you know what I love about what you're talking about, Melanie and Kenny, is that I see hope in your eyes. And to be able to take from dust and rise and do something amazing with your community, you're right. The way you're looking at it is so positive. And it's like, it's a rare opportunity that you have to take all the Blue River ideas and make this the Blue River that you really want it to be.
Yes.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Once you get past
I moved out here 7 years ago. I actually came out here on vacation, and I was amazed by the community. I mean, I grew up in Kansas. I'm a small town boy, so I fell in love with the area, and I'm glad that I've made my place here. I rebuilt my life here, and I'm not going to just let it go to waste.
Do you think in some ways, you guys, that this may solidify for people something? I mean, some will disappear, but it also could create this core that maybe you haven't had as strong as it could be. And this could be the catalyst to making that happen. That would be a hope, I would think, from anybody.
Absolutely. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it has strengthened some relationships that were already pretty strong anyways, but I think that it's also built some foundations for some relationships that we weren't, like for some of the parts of the river that we maybe have forgotten, that we were all still part of the Mackenzie. And because each community, and anybody who's watching this can probably tell you, we kind of all kind of section off, and we're Blue River and one's Vida, and I'm from Mackenzie Bridge, and so sometimes that's kind of how it happens. And it has, I think, helped all of us kind of realize that we're really in this together. And the devastation that happened in Blue River, yes, it is Blue River, it happened to all of us.
Right.
Because it's going to affect the entire Mackenzie for a very long time.
Yeah.
And then, so I feel like that, as horrible as it is, we're helping to kind of pull everybody together around it. And so that's, it's terrible that it has to be a tragedy like this, but for that, I'm kind of thankful.
Right. And I don't think, to me, it's not like, because some people will go, oh, so you think that's why the tragedy happened? No, I think what we as human beings need to learn to do. And I think this is a great opportunity because let's just face it, this has been a really shitty year. I mean, and I could warm that down. It's really crappy, but no, it's shit. And this is giving us the opportunity to turn something good out of it. And I think the one thing I've seen from this whole fire is rekindling of kindness of people. You probably have a dozen stories of people who have done things for you or said things that you know what I mean, that kind of make it feel better, Yeah. And so from a firefighter's perspective, Matt is asking you, Kenny, what does it look like? I haven't seen a progression of the fire and which direction it's going. Do you know, is it 6% contained? Do you know any of that stuff right now?
As of this morning, I haven't really been tied in with the command up there or anything like that, so I'm not getting any news from them. But from what I heard from the news this morning, it is at 8% contained. The last time I saw it, the map for the active burns, it was only at the top north crown of the fire, and everything was just kind of settling down. As of 2 days ago, it was only 100 acres actively burning. So it's dwindled down a lot. And the one thing I've been telling everybody, because of course everybody wants to get back up there as soon as they can, but we're kind of urging people to stay out of the area because the electric companies are working out on the road, all this and that. People are chopping down trees along the highway to make sure it's safe, so it doesn't fall on somebody's car. It's just a matter of time before they get the containment levels higher and higher and higher. We have something to work with now. Now all they have to do is just assess everything around it to make sure it's contained.
So Kenny, let me ask. Kenny, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because I'm not a firefighter and I've never experienced anything like this before. But so when you're out there fighting fire and walking up those hills and stuff, and you know that your town is already gone, what is that like?
Very scary. There are a lot of people that I've had that's really close to me that, everybody had to evacuate, and I couldn't go and see them. I was busy evacuating Mackenzie River Drive and all that, and, that thought just goes through your mind, I may never get to see these people again. And that, I really don't get scared all that often, but that was one of the scariest things that I've ever felt in my life. But around the second day is whenever we were able to get a comm tower up so all the first responders had internet service to get out and connect with people, and just, seeing everybody in town being taken care of all together. That was what kept me pushing throughout the whole thing.
So when you're sitting there fighting the fire and you're seeing flames go up and take over mountains and stuff, I'm guessing, I'm painting a picture. Is that true? Like, do you see that kind of shit?
Oh yeah.
So then you realize, do you all of a sudden, is there some moment when you're going, okay, you ate up Blue River, you are a monster. This is like, and I'm a human being with other human beings, and we're you know what I mean? Explain that to me.
Well, the first night, we never really had any straight communications with anybody because our repeater tower went down, so we never had any actual communications with the dispatch center or anything. So we were just kind of going back and forth to whoever we could reach. So I never knew that Blue River was gone until about 12 o'clock the next day.
Wow.
So it was 12 hours of evacuating people, making sure people were safe, keeping an eye on the fire, assessing safety concerns and that sort of stuff. But yeah, our crew worked really hard. Thankfully, we had 2 United States Forest Service engines up in the area that actually responded to the call quicker than what we did. And thankfully, they were there to save whatever was on McKenzie River Drive, because they stopped it at a very crucial point of a mobile home park. And if it would have taken that mobile home park, it's just all full of shrubs, and everything would have been decimated at that point. And then the whole community would have had to be removed.
So if you look back 2 months, did you, and I'm just throwing words out here because this is my show and I can, but did you kind of feel like the world just sucked and people just sucked? Did you feel, didn't you? And then
throughout the whole COVID stuff,
people were just mean and nasty, and it felt like people just sucked. Back
in March, people were stealing toilet paper from people's carts at Costco, all that kind of stuff. It was just pure selfishness, and that's where my mindset was. I was just ready for 2020 to get out of here. But
so, what do you think of people today?
Seeing the way that Red Cross is helping out, the way that everybody's helping out, donating to all these GoFundMe pages, donating all their items to Red Cross and everything to get to the right people. Yeah, it actually really does warm my heart knowing that my community is taken care of and getting everything that they need.
Melanie?
I would agree. 2 months ago, especially being in retail and dealing with people as much as we have, between the mask mandate and everything else, it's been rough. So 2 months ago, I would have told you that people suck. And that's the honest truth.
Yeah.
And right now, they don't. People have been super compassionate and very giving, and trying their best to, help us navigate a very, very, very terrible situation. And so it's been nice to see people kind of come together and help, because the reality is for most of us, Blue River didn't matter to anybody else other than us.
Right.
And the McKenzie River, the upper part of the McKenzie, really didn't matter to anybody but us. And so it's nice to know that people care. And so it makes me feel better knowing that we will have help going forward.
So you do matter to us.
Yes. And that makes me feel a lot better.
Right.
So.
Well, it kind of brings the community. It makes us really small, doesn't it? I mean, you know, I mean, and I'm Camp Creek, so I'm still 4 miles out of Springfield, but I've always considered myself the McKenzie River. Because she's and just what flows past. I mean, what people I think we forget sometimes, it starts flowing with you, and it's going to get to me sooner or later. And so we better be taking care of one another, because you actually have the headwaters and I'm down at the lower end of it. So I should be nicer to you. You should be like, you should be elevated to some, queenly position, I think, or something. You know what I mean? The other thing I really liked about this, what happened is when my wife and I went over to Silky Field and saw a totally volunteer group of people putting together something that was absolutely amazing. Now, as it's gone on, of course, government is trying to get involved and get their hand in the, and that's when it gets, I was so relieved when it wasn't, because things were really happening. And sometimes I think that's one thing this has shown me is we can, as people, do this on our own. We don't have to depend on government and programs and all that crap to get in the way and come do this. We can do this when we pull together. And sometimes I think we do it better.
Well, that's the one thing that I can say is, thankful for all of the extra resources and everything else like that. But literally like 2 days into this whole thing, when stuff started being a mess and we were having problems with certain things and they couldn't get resources and whatever else, we started making phone calls. And we got things going a heck of a lot quicker than most of everybody else. And everybody's like, how did you do that? I'm like, because we know people.
Right.
And so we're not going to wait, because it's going to take them a little bit longer because they have red tape. We don't have red tape.
Right.
We can just
we
make things happen.
And it is such proof that we need to get rid of some of this damn red tape. It gets in the way, and everything has to go, because they have to prove they can get their FEMA money or whatever the hell it is. And it's like, I don't give a shit about with FEMA money. I care about what's happening to the people on the ground. If we waited for somebody else to do this, people would have been starving. They would have never had a place to stay. And instead, a group of volunteers and community leaders that it was on their own, it wasn't put together by anybody, came together, joined forces with the Red Cross, and they did what had to be done. That's what we should take from this story. A couple of things that we should take from the story, and that kindness still matters, and that you guys, we're now a community, and we got to keep that together and hang on to that really hard, and don't let I don't want to say anything. But don't let those, the rescuers come in and convince us that we need them. We'll work with them, but we can do this as people and a community on our own. And we did it. We did it. And I'm not taking credit for me. I didn't do it. They did it for me. But my wife and I stood there at that place, and we had tears in our eyes watching. And now, here was Planktown and people like that feeding us. And now they're creating rules because, somebody could get sick from that. No, it's not about getting sick. I need food, Don't get in the way. Don't bring some bureaucracy in here and tell me they can't feed me because of your frickin' rules. God.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll settle myself down and calm Rick, zen. You guys, I am so glad, Melanie, you worked your ass off to get this going today. Kenny, I loved having you on here, and we've had firefighters on here saying, thank you, Kenny, for speaking for us. For telling people that, because from the official things, and I am too picking on officials, and that's okay, but we always get the blah 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 blah. From you were there, you're on the ground, and Melanie, you're in a community, and you're speaking for your town, and we're just keeping it real, and that's what people want. We're tired of the bullshit, and we just want people to do the right thing. And in this case, people got to do the right thing, and that is so awesome. Well, I'm going to let you guys go because you have other things to do, but would you keep me in touch? And when you go back, I told Matt already, but he probably won't listen to me, but I would love to go back in there with you guys. When you go back to your town, if you'd let me know. I can't do it live because you guys have terrible phone service up there, but I can tape something up and bring it back. I hesitate to do this because I don't want it to look like I'm trying to capitalize on your pain. And if people don't want, somebody in there seeing it, but I would love to, I don't want to be, KEZI or some news thing, but I would love to just be able to talk to you guys when you see what's happening. And again, you bring out some hope, and I want to have some hope for people. We never want to leave people feeling bad. We want to leave them with hope. And that's what you've given me today. And I so appreciate that from both of you.
Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
Isn't it nice to have a voice?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the reason I do what I do. Everybody has a voice, and they should be able to use it. And your voice matters, whether you're from Blue River or Vida or Springfield or Eugene, but your voice matters. And I love that you guys both got, and Kenny, you're speaking for firefighters and letting them have a voice in what it's really like to be out there doing that stuff. So, yeah. All right, we're keeping it real. Thanks, you guys. I'm going to say a couple more things, but yeah, love you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. So there you go. That's kind of how it works, people. We are the people. We are the community. We do get to say what goes on and what happens. And we can do this stuff. I mean, it's proven. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. But a bunch of volunteers who I know did it. And they didn't have to wait for the command from on high. They went out and they served their community. Because why? Not for attention, and not because they even knew what to do, and not for more FEMA money. They did it because it's the right damn thing to do. And that's what we have to get back to. We have to start doing things in this state for the right reasons, not for some political gain or to make us look better or so that we get more money from the federal government. It needs to be pure, it needs to be real, and it needs to be about the people, not about somebody getting their position better. So I'm done. I won't bitch anymore. I will, but not now. And I want to thank Any Lab Test Now, Eugene, for sponsoring this show, because without them, we could not do this. They do over 8,000 different tests. They're going to give free vitamin B12 shots to the firefighters. If you need any lab work done, they support me so that I can do what I do. I need you to support them, and they're good people too. Have a great evening. I hope you have hope in your soul. Melanie and Kenny just filled us with absolute wonderful things. They've lost everything, and yet they still have hope. And that's what we need to do. And then, as they said, we need to support them. We need to come in and give them the support that they need as a community and as people. We cannot turn around in 2 weeks and say, oh, okay, yeah, that's gone. It's over. It's not. It's going to last for a long time for them. And we are their neighbors, and we need to help them do that. All right. Have a great night. I'm going to go home and have a beer. Tomorrow, I think around noon, we're starting a new program for Chris Dental, my dentist and a local dentist in town. If you like this, it's called Back the Blue. And these are positive stories about police and amazing things that they've done. And I've got a story for you out of Springfield that you're gonna it's gonna blow you away. In fact, I need to get a hold of the young man, but this is a cop and a homeless kid and how they helped each other's lives. So you're gonna love this. It's gonna be so cool. And again, that's sponsored by Chris Dental of Eugene. If you're looking for a dentist or you're tired of where you're going and you want somebody who really cares about the community, Michael Bratlin and Michael Bratlin, actually his brother, Adam, is with Any Lab Test Now. We keep it in the family. It's just how we are. Okay, so that'll be tomorrow. I'm hoping around noon. I'm going to finalize those plans later, but you should just be hanging on every time. You should never get off my page. I'm kidding. I get off my page. I can't stand being around me this much. How do you think I feel? I even sleep with myself. Yeah.